Hello and welcome to KromaCast. This is a show where friends gather and talk all things Kroma, a comic book created, written, and illustrated by Lorenzo De Felici. I am one of your hosts, TJ, and joining me, as always, are my co-hosts, Bill.
Hi.
Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
And Wyatt Lane.
Hey. Hey, guys. Excited to be here.
It's the final issue, final episode.
That's right.
Of KromaCast.
Of our little mini series here.
It's over. But it was a good run, and we're going to talk about the ending right now.
I have feelings about it.
Okay,
That's
talk about it.
That's
you
good.
want to get those feelings out?
Yeah.
I don't know if I should do it now or if I should just do it when they happen.
Oh, okay. All right.
Probably just
probably when they happen. We'll get the initial impressions, of course, in the beginning, but I'm excited to talk about it. Did you guys read it right away?
I did, yeah. So I had a feeling that it was going to come out, or that it would become available on the Comixology or Kindle apps at 9 p.m. on Tuesday night, because that's happened a few times before for me since I'm on the West Coast. Mm-hmm. And so Tuesday night I picked up the first 3 issues of them and did a full reread to get ready just before 9 o'clock. And then as soon as it was 9, it popped up on the tablet. So I read through it there right away. Yeah, it was a very fun experience getting to read the whole thing front to back.
Yeah.
We have to wait until midnight for it to drop over here on the East Coast. And I am unconscious at that point every night.
Did anyone do a reread?
So Wyatt did.
I did.
I did not.
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
I did a reread, but it was a while ago. I did it over the course of the past couple of months since 3 came out.
Yeah, so. Because it was it was what, a month and a half in between or so.
Yeah.
I think January was when we filmed the last one, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Over the last 4 months, you did a reread, TJ.
3 months.
4-issue comic. Okay.
I did it. Yeah. I mean, that is kind of how comics work, right? They come out once a month. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
I re-listened to our last episode to kind of get in the mindset, what were our theories? What did we talk about? Because I feel credit to us, I guess. I feel one way while reading it, and after reading it, and then talking with you guys is what I think makes me really enjoy this comic even more, because we kind of discover more things. So I wanted to kind of remember some of the theories that we had and some of the discussion that we had. So I re-listened to episode 3 before reading issue 4, and then after reading issue 4, I flipped through 1 through 3 again, just to kind of catch up on some conversations that may have connected.
Yeah, I'm man, sometimes I hate doing a podcast on something because it forces you to think outside the box. You can't just take something as at face value and be like, okay, well, I wonder what's going to happen with this Crystal Mountain. We have to be like, I bet you that Crystal Mountain is a fucking spaceship from the future. And you know what I mean? So when it is just the Crystal Mountain and you're just like, oh, well, okay, well, my questions aren't answered, but do they need to be? I don't know. I feel like this issue was fantastic from a character standpoint, from the actual world, getting answers about the world that they live in. I feel like we could still ask questions and
I think that means
he could revisit it.
I think that means it gave you what you needed, but not what you wanted. Maybe. Well, I guess you still got
reverse those two things. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's what I
really see.
What did you say?
I don't need an explanation for stuff like that. You know.
Okay.
But
I agree.
Lorenzo was this is what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was consistent with the first 3 issues in that there's still plenty of questions, and the story doesn't necessarily feel like it's meant to be about revealing the mystery of those questions, but more so about dealing with the characters and how they all wrestle with those questions and what it means on kind of a metaphorical level, just as a story, you know what I mean?
I think the theme is more important than the world that it's set in. Like, he just created this world, which is, I guarantee, has fucking like pages of backstory and like what it's actually all about, like the white clay, like, you know what I mean, like all of that stuff. But it's just a very personal, character-driven story that's placed in this world, and we don't need to know what's all the answers to.
I mean,
it's like
Lorenzo,
a myth. It's like an old myth, you know what I mean? Where it's like you don't necessarily need to know, were those, you know, actually magical creatures? It's more about like what are you taking away from this story, more so than like what were the actual things happening, you know, that we didn't get answers about.
And Lorenzo talked about how this started out, the idea of Kroma started out as one thing, and then it completely evolved into something completely different, and that it was something that he had in his mind long before Oblivion Song was even something. So you can see the amount of thought that was put into, you know, these 4 issues, and how it probably evolved in his mind before it was actually on paper.
Yeah, we should take note on that. I'd love to ask him more about like what the original story was and how it changed. Now that we all know the ending and the full story, I'm curious to see what that original story was and how it changed.
Yeah. Indeed.
Very cool.
Speaking of going back to what Bill said about doing podcasts, we are also the Invincible podcast. So if you want more podcasts, there's a podcast over there waiting for you, all about, you know, the comic book Invincible, created by Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and Ryan Otley. So check us out over there.
Exciting year for Invincible. There's
a lot of good stuff.
20th anniversary. Hope, you know, season 2 should be out this year. We don't have like
it will be.
Late 2023.
More or less.
This year. Definitely is coming out this year. Not should be out this year, but definitely.
It is.
How dare you?
Out.
If it does not, if it gets fucking postponed, I'm blaming you, Ryan. How dare you put that out there?
I mean, they put out. That's
what the trailer
They illustrated an entire, and did voice acting and everything just to talk about how it's coming at the end of 2022. So
they could do the same thing for a postponement, like.
Yeah.
Illustrate entire like launch a trailer for it being delayed until 2024.
Uploaded on December 31st. You're like, hey, you guys said late 2023.
Alan's like, yo, so
where is it?
You can also check out, if you like the theme song to KromaCast, and if you know about Invincible podcast and you like that theme song too, check out our very own Wyatt Lane's music pretty much anywhere online that you can stream music. It's out there.
This is true.
That's right.
A really fun thing happens when we're driving long distance, and I have my phone on shuffle, and a Wyatt Lane song will start, and Liz will be like, "What is this? What is this?" And she'll try to like guess what it is. I'm like, if you ask that question, it's Wyatt Lane, guaranteed.
Put it on the box.
But it's always different. It's always a different type of like, you know, mood and stuff like that. It's always fun.
I appreciate it. I appreciate being in your shuffle.
But I was gonna say, now that Kroma is done, if you're missing out on Lorenzo De Felici and you haven't read Oblivion Song, that is also a series that is complete. It is complete. It's 25 issues. It was amazing, and we did a issue by issue breakdown of that over on the Oblivion Song podcast, and that's still alive. So that comic isn't, you know, that it didn't disappear. You can still go out and get it. It's done. It's got, was it 3 awesome hardcovers if that's the way you want to read it. I think I still need the 3rd one. I only got 1 and 2.
Probably.
I still haven't gotten the 3rd one.
It's a good one. I got it right over there. But yeah, that's Lorenzo De Felici's past. We're gonna talk about his present right here with Kroma, but he has a future too, and he's doing something. He's back with Robert Kirkman, and his next thing is going to be Void Rivals, which was announced for June, for the first issue of that, and apparently it's going to be like a whole universe of different comics or different titles.
They've
Not
just
really
called
sure
it
how.
a shared universe.
Yeah.
They're
Which I
being
think is
very
not
secretive and cryptic about it.
Don't know what universe it's shared in, if it's creating its own shared universe, or what that even means. So,
but if you read Oblivion Song and you know Kirkman and Lorenzo De Felici working together, you're excited because it's good shit.
Yeah,
so
very excited.
All right, well, shall we dig into the finale, issue 4 of Kroma?
Yes, let's do it.
What did you guys think of the main cover?
It's so.
I love it.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think if I would have seen this cover, because I didn't see this cover before issue 3, I think I might have been more likely to predict the red between the green and blue because it's so prominent on this cover. I'm glad I didn't see it until I got to the back of issue 3. But it's such a great cover.
Yeah, I love this cover.
I didn't get a copy of the B cover. Did any of you?
I just got digital so far.
Okay.
So I unfortunately wasn't able to run out to the shop.
I'm not sure I know the B cover.
I should have the variant waiting for me. I haven't picked up my physical copies yet, but I did get all of the I do pick up all the variants. So.
I went by my shop, but they were sold out of both of them. But I did actually get the variant for issue 1. They had that one there, so I picked that up.
Sweet.
So I'm going to order the physical copies of 4 online.
Cool.
Very cool. All right. The variant is just Kroma in a tree, and
that's right.
Kroma dials are kind of looks like they kind of blend in with the flowers of the tree. It's very, very cool.
Is that the name we landed on? Chromodile? I think so, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's approved by Lorenzo.
I'm pretty sure he
Twitter.
used Chromodile on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we do.
So this was one of those moments, kind of like reading the last issue of Invincible, where I open it and I'm like, it got me.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, kind of a callback to issue 1's opening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Issue 1 opens with the bird being attacked by a larger bird and then falling to the ground.
In the city.
But this time it's an owl attacking a bird.
A rat, right?
I'm sorry, an owl attacking a rat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought
dropping it again in the jungle area where all the chromodiles are.
Yeah. I was very excited. Like, this kind of started my whole, okay, well, I guess it's just a crystal mountain. Like, it started, I'm like, oh, awesome. We're going to get some, like, cool lore, you know what I mean? But it's literally just June. Is that his name? Jun? Or June?
I was saying Jun.
I would say June.
I think we've said June in the past.
But it's probably Jun, right?
It could be.
I don't like, if it's Jun, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
My mouth saying it, but it could be Jun.
It could.
I mean, they live in a pale city where color is outlawed, so it could be Jun.
I like that he's dreaming about the crystal mountain that he's never been to or anything like that. I found that interesting.
Yeah, so he's having nightmares. Apparently it's an ongoing thing because they're just kind of sick of it. They're like, again, like, and the key thing that he says here is that it's been a year.
It's been a year,
yeah, right? Time jump. None of us thought this was coming.
Massive time jump. A massive time jump. Not like a week or a month. A fucking year goes by.
Never would have predicted that.
Yeah. Never. And I feel like they could be playing with a little bit with like how much time has passed between issues 1 and 3, because there are at least a couple of times where they're just like Chroma's traveling through the jungle for a while and is like, so it could have been a little while. I think the majority of the time is the time jump in between 3 and 4 though. And that is the biggest time jump for sure.
So you're saying like a month or two,
because she seems more
or capable. Even just maybe like a week or so. Like, I think thinking back on it, it felt like it was all happening like back to back, but I think there's room to play around with, but still it definitely does seem like this is like a significant time jump. Like everyone feels like they're in kind of a different place.
Yeah, the conversation
at the
with Zet mentioning it's been a long time and like the way she's, I don't know, kind of grown up and the way she's acting around the chromodiles and everything. It's definitely
more established.
Before we get too far from the dream though, a horned owl killing the mouse. It's definitely the Maccabi, right? It's his horns. It matches the owl. He's dreaming about the Maccabi killing Zet.
When it shows the Maccabi, he's putting the horns in with the clay. So
I didn't even really catch that because they show the owl in the first panel and it's just like the ears almost. But then in that second panel that's at the top of the page, it very much looks almost identical to the Maccabi's like horns off to the side.
Super cool.
So June's talking about his nightmare, and then they get talking about the Makavi and how the Makavi is just acting weird, and how June has seen him standing up at the tower, but he hasn't noticed any food going in and out of the tower. Like, what's going on with the monster? Why did they stop feeding the monster? What happened to the monster? And they're like, well, listen, like, don't worry about it. We're doing the ritual in 2 days, where you'll get to see the monster and chase it down and do all that stuff. Now go back to sleep. Then, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So then you get a page of the Makavi making the horns, and Jun walks up and he just says, "I want the truth." So what do you think his plan was for the ritual?
I think he was very nervous and grasping at straws.
Right.
And I think June just presented himself as an option.
Yeah. Or it would have been something like, because when they eventually get to the ritual, they're like, oh, it's not running away, like it's just lying there. He probably could have just been like, oh, it's not going to break out of the egg. Let's all just crush the egg or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he probably would have just found another kind of same way that he sort of adjusted once he had June.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get our first look at Kroma of the issue, and again, you can see the confidence in her. She's not scared of the chromodiles anymore. You could tell that it's been a year. She's established. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, she's got a routine.
She's got a routine. She's painting things certain colors. She's making using flowers to make like red dust for attacking, stuff like that. It shows that her sleeping with the chromodiles. She's writing in her journal. Which comes back later on in the issue.
Zet's journal. Zet's journal.
Yeah.
She's just continuing it, yeah.
Yep. And it shows her walking. Anyone else want to take this part?
Yeah, and then she's going kind of like off into the jungle and sees a deer, and then says, "Wait, I know you're hungry, Zet, so am I," which was the first part where I was like, what is happening? Is Zet back again? Is she still seeing him? But then she's like holding back one of the smaller chromodiles, and she says, let me do it on my own, and tries to hunt the deer, and misses, and then finally is like, okay, Zet, go get our lunch. Like, so she's trying to survive on her own and trying to like teach herself how to hunt, but also like when that fails, she has an army of chromodiles that she can kind of control and have them kind of do her bidding,
or a little pup.
Yeah,
as Zet is, he's obviously an offspring. And at this point, I was like, okay, this is great. I love it. I'm gonna name like my next animal Zet. Like that's what I'm gonna do.
What I like about this scene is that it's been a year and she's established and she's confident, but she still needs to rely on them to survive, which brings me back to the point, or brings me back to the mindset of she's still just a little girl. You know what I mean? Which I like too. I like it kind of brings you back to remember, like she's still a child in this situation. So I liked that realization too.
Yeah, she's a child that can control and manipulate fucking like, so her tool of a spear is, not great because she's not good with a spear, but she's obviously fucking pretty talented with controlling an army of chromodiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're eating this deer or this creature, and then we get another moment where Zet appears in a cool way again. Just he's not really there, but then he just pops in, kind of thing. And I love that the first thing he says is, it's still weird you named a lizard Zet.
I like her answer. Like she's like, it feels good saying it out loud.
Yeah. That's really cool. He's kind of like nagging her about, well, when are you going to go back to the city? And she's like, this again, like you can tell like they've like this part of her mind has been kind of asking this question over and over, like, go back. You can help them. You can show them what you've learned. But she's like resisting that. Like she doesn't want to. She's kind of being like, she's saying that, everything they told me was a lie. Everything I felt towards me was this disgust. They won't listen to me. He's trying to convince her that not everybody is like that, and that he himself changed. And she's like, well, look what good that did you. And you see him with the spear through his chest again.
Yeah. Oh, good.
It's all inner turmoil. Don't forget that this is her talking to herself, trying to convince herself to go back to the city. And then she's obviously feeling ways. about it.
So I know we don't want to like just read this on air like over and over, but this next set of lines are really important. I feel like I should read these. She tells that there's something growing roots in my thoughts, something red. Every time I think about it, the past, about the pale city, I feel the roots sinking deeper and deeper. My eyes fill with red, my breath shortens, my hands close into fists. When we met, I think you put this red seed in my head. So,
but she goes on, and what I like about it too is that she says, I think Zet gives her like a look, and she's like, no, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
She doesn't see it as a bad thing. As I'm reading it, when she first talks about the red seed, I'm like, oh, it's anger.
mm-hmm.
She's angry. But then when she's like, no, it's a good thing, it's like, oh wait, no, maybe it's not anger. But then you find out that it is anger. She just doesn't see it as a bad thing, and I love that.
But it also
good.
isn't, because she calls it clarity and it's understanding and it's truth. It's like, because
it's
I went back to
clarity though.
Yeah,
it's her clarity.
Yes.
Of it's okay to be angry.
Zed only said a handful of things to her. So I went back to issue 1 and reread it and everything like that. And what he showed her and what he told her was that there is more out there, that there is like what they told you is a lie. That's not true. Like, and he was the one that planted that seed of doubt that, you know, there is something else out there other than what the Maccabi tells her she is. And I think that was that seed that, you know, whether you call it the doubt or the clarity or the, you know, the hope or whatever you want it to be. But that's what's there. And then when we see that, when she follows that seed to where its source is when she kind of says out loud what it means. But we'll get to that in a minute.
What I think is fucking brilliant is that this is a human being who was never taught emotion, was never taught like how to express herself or what is good and what is bad. In fact, she was brainwashed into thinking that she was just bad. So like, imagine being a child going out into the wilderness and feeling rage and guilt and like this like feeling that you don't feel comfortable feeling, right? And she visualizes it. She like she creates this way to visualize what she's feeling. It's genius because like she's never experienced emotion like this before. So she has to visualize roots and a color
and it's
to help her like experience it.
Yeah. It's also this, like you say, like as a child, it's also this belief that the world is what they tell you it is, which I think is what it really drives home throughout the rest of this issue. And that seed is that like, but it's not. It's not what they tell you it is.
I think
you're not who they tell you are.
I think that's why it makes sense that it is both like it is her anger and it is her rage, but she also describes it as clarity because it's her learning the truth about the world. She has a right to be angry. She has a right to have all of that rage because of everything that was done to her and how she was lied to and told these stories about herself. It is all that rage, but it's like it's truth too. Like it's clarity of what the world actually is.
It's also the freedom of knowing that she's not evil and that she's not everything that she's thought she was.
Yeah. It's so something just happened with my daughter who is 8. She just turned 8. And I like having a kid makes moments like these kind of resonate a little bit more because I have something to kind of, you know, compare it to, where as a parent, if a kid is mean to my daughter, you know what I mean? The first thing you're saying is like, oh, if they apologize, say, okay, I accept your apology. And something happened recently where I had to be like, this has happened enough. You don't have to accept an apology anymore. You're allowed to be mad at somebody and say, I'm not going to be mean to you, but I'm not accepting your apology and I'm done with this relationship. Like that happened. But I'm an adult and Kroma is experiencing this, but on her own. Like imagine, I think of Remy being in the wilderness on her own, having to raise herself and having these kind of epiphany moments. And I just love like Lorenzo having to illustrate it in a way where it's not an adult telling you how you should feel and this is okay and teaching you. It's her teaching herself.
Yeah.
And it's fucking,
because I bet it's
so good.
I bet it's so far
good.
easier in comics to just write as you think, as an adult would think, like,
Yeah.
and put
Yeah.
the
or
words.
having a preconceived experience where you're like, oh, I know that I don't have to accept your apology. Like I
Yeah.
was told you're mean. Like this is her like being okay with being angry.
Yeah.
I loved it. I
Mhm.
fucking loved it, and it was oh my god, it was so good.
Yeah.
Good job, Lorenzo.
Zet tells her not to follow the roots to its base, and she notices that Zet, the lizard, is missing, and he didn't come back. He normally comes back, and then there's a screech, and she goes running, calling out Zet.
And
Why does Zet always die?
She's
Why
screaming.
does Zet always die? It's not fair.
She's screaming Zet, and then Demog, right? Is the name's Demog of the hunter guy who's
I
been
think that's right.
I think that's
Yeah.
right.
chasing
Yeah.
after her. Just says that sounds familiar. Oh, it's so awful. Like
Yeah.
it's. Oh yeah, I remember. I killed the other Zet too. Like, ugh.
Guys,
This
he's missing a hand. He's missing a hand. And I went back to issue 3 when
Okay.
we saw him get snatched up by the vines. Both hands.
Really,
Both hands were there.
I wondered.
Healthy hands, right, left, all good.
See, I wondered
I have
too. I
issue-
was like,
I have-
and last we saw, he was caught in a trap, right?
Yeah.
We theorized maybe it was the mother.
So
what happened?
I remember all those theories, and we were like, "Oh, it's got to be the mother out there." And then when I was doing the reread in issue 2, when Ceristo, the bird who's not a bird, when he's
Uh-huh.
walking her back to the nest, he's like, "Come on, hurry up! You wouldn't want to get caught in one of my traps."
Oh,
And that was a little line where I was
good.
like, "Oh, the trap is just one of his traps." And I
Yes.
completely was like, "I don't need that plot thread to come back now because I know that that's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
it was."
So
I think we talked
but the
about
hand-
that. We debated on whether or not we would see him again.
Yeah.
Well, we also didn't know if, like, those things set the trap. Like, if they were smart things, the
That was
the little
something-
chromodials.
Use the Justin.
Was it? Okay.
One of us had that.
One of us said that.
If it's out there, it's probably a Bill theory. Let's be real. But he definitely did not lose his hand there.
So last
Interesting.
episode that when we were talking about Demog, I said that I felt like he was one of my more favorite characters, aside from like Zet and Kroma, the more main characters, because of everything that he had gone. He was the only one to really verbalize the struggle that of anybody that lives in the city and
Mhm.
why he hates, like his justification of why he hates, anything that's outside the city. And I love that they went into more detail in this fight. It made me like him even more because he actually put context to not just the city, but his own personal life too. So
Yeah.
they start fighting. Go ahead, Bill.
I was just gonna say to what you're saying, TJ, and just to generalize their conversation, like correct me if I'm wrong, but he accepts the fact that it's a lie, but he doesn't care. Like he hates her because she represents what this lie was built on and how he had to kill his brother, right? Is this right?
I think
his
I
little
think
brother.
Yeah, I think he believes it. I don't think that he believes that it's a lie. He believes it, but he's pissed off that she's the reason. She, along with everything else that's outside of the city, is the reason why they have to kill off every baby that has color.
Bill, that sounded familiar, but I just went back in that fight in the river. He doesn't say that. He is saying that you were talking to your father, because Ross, because of you and your father. All this nonsense. Yeah,
There was one line in particular.
maybe it was the bird.
Oh no, it's right here. Because she says, "You've been out here
Oh, yeah,
all this
that's-
time, and you still don't realize." And then it shows there's a panel of the roots,
Yeah,
fucking rowing, right? And she's following them up. Yep.
Yeah.
And he says, "Realize, what I did realize being out here. I've seen how sweet and rich life could be if we weren't prisoners inside those damned walls."
yeah,
Right.
Oh, so you're
He's-
saying that he blames her for having to be in the walls,
yeah,
but
because
he-
of the king
okay,
and all that
okay.
kind of stuff.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I mean, he even says at the start of this, he's like, He's like, I see you. I've been watching you. I followed you. I can't get close enough, but I see you going up to that hill and talking to your father. So he even says, like, you are talking to the King of Colors, and which means that obviously he believes in the King of Colors. But he's like, I haven't been able to get close enough to actually see him, but I know you're talking to him.
So that
Can we
love
just
that.
There's just one panel where he punches her the first time, and it's with his stub.
Yeah.
I just noticed
So
that
badass.
So that moment,
All right, go ahead, Ryan.
the moment that triggers the decision to follow the roots is her being like, you were out here all this time. And not like, oh, you were following me, you were stalking me, you could have killed me. No, you were out here all this time and you still don't get it. The thing that I know, the thing that Zet planted there, and that triggers the roots, and she's following him, and all she's thinking about as he's like stabbing her hand to the tree is like, how do you still not realize that there's this ignorance that it's willing, like, sorry, go ahead.
And I love the way that it's doing the panels of the roots in between as he's telling her these things. It reminded me so much of like in Kill Bill, the like siren sound that would just like start playing just before like something terrible is about to happen. It just filled me with this anxiety of like, oh no, she's gonna snap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like a visual version of that where I felt like I was like hearing it with every one of those panels. It's awesome.
But I like the conversation, like just the dialogue and how it comes together, where he's like, you're really going to tell me we did this for nothing? You're really going to say we did all of this for nothing, that killed my brother for nothing? And then it leads on to, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it leads to her saying, you did it for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did it for nothing. And I love that.
You did.
Ryan, we always talk about the which is better and comparing reading full page.
I know. I thought about it. I know.
Hold on. Reading full page or reading panel to panel digitally.
Mm-hmm.
This single issue has a perfect reason to support both theories.
I know.
Now,
this page.
No, it's not that page.
You're super glary, Bill.
No, it's not the page with the seed.
It's the seed. It's the one. It's the one with the. Wait, no, Ryan. It's the one with the flower that's poking through.
Oh, okay.
That's the one I showed.
That is the perfect.
Yeah, that's the best fucking page ever created.
That's the perfect
by men.
Full page. Love that, because you can see all the roots behind it, and it's not in panels. It's literally behind all the other pictures, but you see it finally sprout through. This as a full page, I love this. I love this as a full page.
And
the roots connecting, connecting to the red spot.
Wait, so TJ, you were saying you like that as a full page, not Comixology?
Yes, as a full page.
Because I thought you were going to make a case for the Comixology panel by panel in 2 pages from now.
Yep, that's coming.
Okay.
Yes. So
I said that this issue has a perfect example of
TJ's playing both sides, so that he always comes out on top.
I think it is important because I did this. So I read panel by panel in Comixology, and then I go back and because I want the experience of the full page, and I'm so fucking glad I did. I'm so glad I did for that page alone, because it is so. Lorenzo is an artist. Like he's everything is thought out. Like the panel at the top of that page with it sprouting from what looks like her forehead, the realization that she has when it sprouts first, where she's like, all right, I need to tear this down. These people cannot live like this anymore. Like, oh my God, dude, you don't even need words. You don't even need words.
These 2 pages, man, are insane. Just like,
and I love
her saying your little brother didn't have to die, and she's looking down at Zet, and then, you know, my merciless father, your almighty king of color, and then she looks up, nothing but a bunch of shiny rocks. It's so like epic. Oh, yeah. And then the next page gets even more. Oh.
Yeah, she tackles Demog and says, "You did it all for nothing," and is just screaming back nothing at him, beating him, and his head is in between Zet's jaw that's on the ground.
How fucking awesome. How awesome of a shot. And you're waiting for him to like not be dead. You know what I mean? But I just think it was scary enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then having it end with the other Chromodiles coming up and her being like, no, does the blue pop of color, you leave him to me. It was just like, oh my gosh, like
terrifying.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
Do you guys remember what blue stands for?
Blues wait. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because that was the one they would launch
It's
back.
described as
Yep.
stop
Mm.
when it's first. I thought that was cool.
So,
like, that he,
with this-
he, like, killed him
with-
and it stopped.
With this page alone, the page that we're all absolutely in love with, her saying your brother didn't deserve to die, and my merciless king of colors is just a fucking pile of shiny rocks,
Mm-hmm.
and the look that she has and the realization that she has, do you think that Lorenzo hates religion? Like, and the idea
That's
So there
honestly,
is
that's one of the things I would love to talk to him about is not a hatred of religion, but I would love to know what his history is with religion, because this story obviously has so many ties to, religious traditions and the ways that people are manipulated through that, and yeah, it's definitely a moment of rage against that kind of idea for sure.
What do you guys think? TJ,
yeah,
Brian?
Completely. It is that organized traditional religion that is so set in its ways, and it's become it is
It's
there
not
is
really
definitely that.
I mean, I think it's supposed to be known. Like it is very upfront.
I would be curious to know.
I mean, it could also be political. It doesn't have to be religion. Like it is just this belief in a community that is just like brainwashed into believing something that is destructive and harmful to people around them. Yeah.
I would be curious to know and to have a conversation with Lorenzo. Like, what is the inspiration for it? Is this page right here what inspired Kroma? Or is the world just something you kind of came up with, and then you use that as a medium to you're like, oh, this is perfect. You know what I mean? I'm just curious to see what came first, the chicken or the egg. You know what I mean?
I wonder if it was
what his experience is with religion or politics. Like what happened? Something happened.
Everything he said about something happened.
Calm down.
You're like Lorenzo's dad. You're like, what happened, son? Who
hurt you?
Everything he said in issue 1, everything about color, like color is so important to him and to the story. I wouldn't be surprised if color and this the idea of the world was that original idea, and then whether it be politics or religion or the state of the world, kind of influenced what the actual story was, and that's what it became. So maybe if I had to guess, maybe that's how it changed from the original concept. But I don't know. We'll have to ask Lorenzo someday.
See, this is what's happening. We're rationalizing it. This is the crazy podcast theorizing that we do, and you just be like, oh no, I saw a flower cool. And I thought, hey, that's kind of cool,
So the next scene we get, we're back in the city in like the town square area, and they're about to do the ritual. You see the monster that is in the egg in the center of the square.
Right away? Did you know right away when you saw the egg?
I think you're supposed to.
Yeah. As soon as they were like, "Where's June?
Yeah.
Why isn't June here?"
I feel like I knew. I feel like I knew when he said, "I want to know the truth."
It's so fucked up. It's so there is not a redeeming quality. I don't care what you think about the Maccabi. There's no redeeming qualities with that fucking guy. I'm sorry.
So we see the other boys that are there, and they're saying, "Where's June? I haven't seen him in a couple of days. He's gone." Then we get the Maccabi who says, it's time. Oh, he doesn't want to come out of its shell. Like,
it's just another form of defiance.
Mm-hmm.
Tear it open.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna let him defy us like this? And the townsfolk go bananas. And he's tied up, guys.
Yeah.
He's tied. He doesn't even have a fighting chance. This little kid, who is a follower, went up to the Maccabi just looking for answers, and he tied him up to be beaten to almost death.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry.
That's
my fucking my roots are. I'm feeling.
I will also say
it's Kroma. It's what Kroma went through for years. I mean, she was even younger than him. She was a baby, and it was the same thing.
It was her life. Once a year,
life.
it was her fucking life.
Yeah.
It was also amazing, just again talking about color, going from those several pages of just intense color and emotion, and then you turn it and it's just this black and white. It was very jarring.
Yeah.
It just, yeah, I was in that world of color, you know what I mean? And like we had gone a long time without seeing the black and white. So when you turn that page, it was very jarring.
Yep.
And then we turn back to the world of color in another very jarring moment.
This is a perfect moment to show why it may be better panel to panel, because you see her just like holding their forehead to forehead, her holding Demog and saying thank you. I know it's not your fault. Your red roots, they were too strong, too deep. They were all you had. And then that you get the second panel of them looking at each other, like her looking at him in the eyes up close. And then you get to the third panel and she's holding his severed, decapitated head. So good panel to panel.
Yeah.
So for people who read it digitally, my advice, and I think the best way to read it, is to go into your settings, read it panel to panel, but go into your settings, and then when you swipe the last panel onto the next page, before it goes to the next page, it shows you the full page first. And you kind of get the best of both worlds, and that's what I do. That's how I read it, and I love it.
So the thing with this, TJ, is I was reading it panel to panel, and I was like, oh, she's definitely holding his dead head. I didn't know it was decapitated, but you could tell, like, just with the tone of it.
Yeah.
So I think when the tone is like in the first panel, you know that she's holding a fucking dead head.
It's just a little more
kind
cinematic.
of okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But
I love that she like essentially forgives him. She says, like, I know that you didn't really have a choice. You followed your red roots. They were too strong, too deep. They were all you had left. And again, that's such a good, like, it's such a good, you can compare that to anything, like we were talking about, whether it's politics or religion, of like people who have just been consumed by their anger towards whoever they think is the villain, whoever they think is the bad guy, and they have nothing left but that. And she recognizes, because she's starting to feel, her own red roots and anger, and she sees, oh yeah, you all you did was follow that, and you got consumed by it.
And she has that compassion for someone who was just ignorant and didn't know, and chose to believe that, whether it was, I guess the Maccabi is someone who chooses to believe and isn't quite brainwashed, but
it's so like it mirrors what, like, just everything, like.
But a good story is going to be something that you can interpret into what you believe. Like, somebody else reading this might not interpret it that way. It is not black and white, hey, but it is pretty dense, and I think
yeah.
Just
people who are so caught up in thetheir own ignorance to, like, just say, like, it's like arguing with someone who refuses to accept facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's it, and it's so infuriating because it happens. I feel like it happens so much more now, like the last 4 years or so, where, like, you can have a conversation and try to speak logically with somebody, and then they're so caught up in, like, whatever it is that there is, whether they're, I don't want to bring Trump and stuff like that into it, but, like, those people who just refuse to, like listen to logic and just be like, maybe you're right. They're just in their red roots, and they can't see past it, and they refuse to.
But I like Go ahead.
I think that ties back to kind of what we said at the beginning, where the details and the answers about, like, the literal world that this story takes place in are not as interesting to me as what Lorenzo is saying about human nature and about anger and ignorance, and you know what I mean? Like, that stuff hits so hard for me when I realize kind of the message that Lorenzo's trying to put out. And so, whether the King of Colors is just a big pile of shiny rocks, I'm kind of okay with, and I'm not that disappointed by, because the messages that he's, like, putting into this that you can apply to the real world are so, like, poignant.
I love sci-fi and fantasy and, like, crazy worlds and superpowers and stuff like that, but we are spending so much time, and if you're listening to this podcast, obviously you're reading the comic, but we're spending so much time talking about, like, real life emotions.
I was going to say, would you think that we would have been having these conversations during issue 1?
That's what's so funny about it. Like, issue 1, 2, 3 were like crazy, and then a year-long gap, like a year jump happened, and Lorenzo spent time in issue 4. It's like a 25-minute like interaction that happens, and so much character and emotion happens in it that's what matters. Wyatt, to your point, like,
Yeah.
I didn't think that I would read this issue or this series coming out feeling more ways about like these characters and what they're going through, and the message. I don't think I've ever read anything that had like such a poignant message and something to say, as this did.
What I was gonna say before is I like that she calls him Red Roots. You know, it's not your fault. You're Red Roots. Like,
Yeah.
You have red roots too. I have red roots. Your roots were too deep into you, you know, and like they were just the wrong red roots. Like they were just like they both have the same red roots. You know what I mean? Like there's still that. They still have their own belief, but it's the yeah.
God, I can't wait. I hope to God we get to have a conversation with Lorenzo about this to find out like what inspired all this stuff. But moving on.
Yeah.
So yeah. Speaking of moving on, she's moving on.
She is. Oh yeah. Let's move.
Yep.
I think is what she says.
Yeah. And I like that she looks down and sees Zet and the Makavi again, who have been the two like people whispering in her ear, and this is her seemingly in a way kind of leaving them behind.
Yes,
and recognizing that she's going on her own now.
Because
like,
we don't see them again, right? These visions.
We see Zet once, I
Do we
think,
see
later
Zet one
on,
time?
Yeah.
near the very end.
Is he still?
Well,
does
and
he still
we
have
see the
spear?
actual Makavi soon.
Yeah. Does he still have the spear through him?
I don't know that we see like a full shot of him. I think we just see like shoulders up.
Her looking down and seeing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just shoulders.
Um.
So they're at the ritual. June is on the ground. They're like kicking him, and you can hear like there's a bunch of R's. There's a bunch of like roaring or rumbling that's happening in the distance and getting closer and closer. And the Makavi finally says like, I'm gonna go see what that is. And he looks over the wall, and he sees just tons of different Kroma dials, and you see Kroma there, and she like says a speech about how, you know, you have your biggest fear is that your stories are going to fade, and that's why you needed me. You needed me to in order to keep your stories alive and keep them going and keep people brainwashed. So now I'm here to set everybody free from those stories.
Grasping at straws, man. Like you're what are you even holding on to at this point anymore other than control? Like there's no reason to be living this lie other than safety and like
And
control of it.
I love how she's about to take siege on the city, and she says, "This is where the siege ends. Like the real siege ends." And she has just two handfuls of multiple different colors, which we know different colors do different things.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know what? No, here's all the color. She's introducing all the color to this black and white world all at once. Like she's just crashing in.
I also think that's
chaos.
not so much to control the Kroma dials, but it's more so that the Kroma dials can see. The reason why they're in black and white is because they can't see, the absence of color.
That's
so.
right.
It
also just feels like almost like a sort of like a threat to the people. Like they're all scared of color. Like when Zet and his friends first go out, they're like kind of terrified to be close to all of the color, and she is basically being like, I'm refusing to let you hide from this anymore. I am just going to cover the place in color.
Yep. I think there are certain panels. This whole scene of the Kroma dials attacking give me more of a sense of just how fucking gigantic these things are.
Right.
Like there are certain panels where like, damn, they are bigger than I remember, bigger than I had perceived them to be.
I mean, she's sitting on a neck of one, and she's this big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like the size. They're the size
like
of
the size
AT&T walkers.
She's like the size of one of their tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Like
one of their
teeth. One of their teeth.
Man, just her destroying or like popping the red one on the bottom of that page. Just, it's so cool. And just like the tone of this being this red and purple and blue kind of hue as the attack happens.
Yeah.
Yep. So the one of the friends, come over to June and says like, what happened, brother? And he goes, I asked him for the truth, And he gave it to
And
me.
he gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucker.
Here's the truth.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This is a terrifying shot of a chromodile of him like kind of just like coming out of the fog, and you just see his head. If I were to see that staring it back to me, I'd fucking shit myself. But they're all looking up at her like in terror, and she says, "Where's the Makavi?" And they're just kind of like, stumbling. He says he went to the tower, and
she looks at June wearing the monster outfit.
Yeah.
And recognizes that, says, "Take this. If one comes too close, pop one and move away quietly."
Talking about the chromodiles, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then she makes her way away.
Crazy scene of them, of the Makavi's guards securing him in the tower, and then him just hearing their deaths from outside the door.
I like too that I'm noticing now as well that like we first meet Kroma and she's just being kept in the dark literally the whole time, and now he is having to run and hide and shut himself in the dark while he hears everyone murdered outside. Like he's in the prison that they kept her in, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like
So the guards die, she opens up the door and he says, "Hello, Kroma. Before you do what is right, let me see your eyes again." And he tells her the story of her mother, and you find out that he is her father, pretty much, and she gave birth and to Kroma. She had her eyes. They knew that he knew, and the mother knew, that she would be executed right away, based off of what they believe. So they created this facade of her being the daughter of the King of Colors, to keep her alive. So instead of her being executed, they created and fabricated this entire fucking story to, yes, she's going to be tortured, and yes, the mother's going to be executed because she had sex with, well, she's kind of like the Virgin Mary, right? In this story, is that what we're gathering? Because
I assumed that it was just because she gave birth to a child that had like color, so that they were.
Yeah, but their relationship was secret. He said their relationship was banned because he was a man of religion and he was the Makavi or whatever it was. Yeah. And so she said she's the daughter of the King of Colors, and inferring that she was impregnated in some supernatural way. That's how I took it anyways. I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but
yeah.
One thing I like about this though is that it wasn't them that came up with the story. It was the mother that came up with the story. And as he's telling Kroma about it, he's very clear that it was her that came up with the story, and that their love was forbidden. And he even says that she begged me to go along with it. And that tells me even more so that like he had no interest in protecting this girl, but he loved this woman so much that he did it for her, but never liked Kroma. And I think that tells why he always treated her like shit.
He did, he did love her. He says that like with every interaction was like protecting you, but also punishing you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and when he eventually is telling all this story, and you see him start to get one of the like claws or off of his like earring, basically, and he says that getting to look at her eyes were the only way that he could see her. So I do think that he didn't necessarily have a strong love for Kroma as much as he missed this woman that he loved. It was
like looking at a picture of this woman he loved.
He says it right here. He says, "All this time, I had to watch you grow, cursing you with one hand and protecting you with the other. I had to do it. She wouldn't have forgiven me."
Yeah. It wasn't for Kroma.
If you ... basically died.
Yeah, it wasn't for Kroma. It was the promise that he made to the woman he loved, and the selfishness of getting to see an image of her in her eyes.
He said, "Oh, hating you should have been so easy. You took her away from me, you monster." I love that. I like that we get character building with him at the end.
Yeah.
To show that he was able to love, but he was still the villain at heart because of how he treated Kroma.
Yeah. I didn't know he was going to slit his own throat. I thought I thought he was going to like do something. I wasn't sure what he was doing with it. So when you turn the page, I was like, wait, huh, what? And I looked back and it's all the hook.
I read panel to panel at this point, and I didn't know either until the second to last panel where he's holding it kind of like this.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, well, uh-oh. So.
But he calls out, he says, at the beginning of this interaction, before you do what is right. Like he knows he's caught. Yeah. He knows he's a fraud and a fake, and he deserves this. Mm-hmm. But he went along with it anyways.
The only thing that she wanted, that Kroma's mother wanted, mm-hmm. was for her to live, for her to not be killed. So to create this fabrication, this story that she's to be kept and tortured or just kept in, solitude. So she's alive and well. So there's no need for this anymore. There's no need for any of this anymore. The Pale City, like the whole religion that they base this off of.
Okay.
Like,
hold on a second, because I think the religion existed. He says that he was not, their love was forbidden or whatever. Like, doesn't he say, I wasn't allowed? Yeah, he doesn't say it was because of their religion, but he said he wasn't allowed.
But she created a story. Let's say that it was the King of Colors that did it. So
the King of Color, who they believe in before this.
But they're creating their own fucking myth.
Yes, to support their belief.
That's fake.
Yes. Okay, I thought you were saying that because of this, they have their belief. No, they had their belief.
No.
And now they're saying, oh, look, it's real, see?
Yeah.
But you can't deny it now.
It's just another mm-hmm. example of how you can take something and turn it into like work your motives into it. You know what I mean? So like this, I'm going to use religions, like 2,000 years ago, something probably did happen. But then over the course of however many years, you've got so many people with their hands on it doing this type of thing and creating their own narrative. Perfect example.
Or an even simpler example being like, it's the Virgin Mary in a piece of toast. Like there's always those things. About. Like it's mm-hmm. like this supports it. Yeah. See?
Yeah.
So we go back to the Mackay and the boys, and they're out of their blue smoke balls. They don't know where they go, and
I think they overdid it a little bit because there's just like blue mist everywhere.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
There's dinosaurs around. Throw all of them.
So she approaches, stands in front of him, and she recognizes that's friends from his notes. They call her the monster, and I like how she's like no more than he is, and points at Jun. Oh, that's right. This is where you see Zet.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, she looks over at him, like, because she says, you knew Zet, or he says, you knew Zet, and she says, I was his friend. I still am. And she looks over, and he's standing beside her.
Okay,
She says, I miss him.
He has his hand on her shoulder, right?
Yeah.
That panel? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think you saw enough to understand that these walls can't keep you safe anymore, neither can the lies.
This conversation is amazing. Like, it kind of shows that certain people are going to continue to believe, like, just because what you did here, it didn't stomp out the lies. Because that's what she says, like, oh, you just got to stomp them out. And he's like, no, what did you do? You came in here, you didn't stomp out the lies. You stomped out buildings. You killed people. Mm-hmm. Why should we believe you and follow you? I
what
love
did you
that
expect?
argument.
You came in here. Yeah. You think we're going to follow you? Look what you did.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't you finish the job? And then it's Zet putting his hand on her, and she says, "I want to believe Zet." June goes to her, and she kneels down next to him, and she says that she tells them, "You guys can control them. Take Zet's notebook. It's filled with his diary. It's filled with all the things that I learned. including how to get them to stop. But here's some of the balls, and you're going to learn to make some on your own. You'll figure it out.
And I love that one of them says, how can we trust you after all of this? And she says, you don't have to. That's the point. And her whole motivation here has been to come back and free the people that Zet says are the good people. He says, like, my friends are back there. Not everyone is bad back there. So she's going to tear down the whole system of lies that is controlling people and then walk away because it's not her place to tell them what to do. It's not their job to figure it out.
She felt it was necessary to not expose, but tear down kind of what was there and let people choose for themselves. That's right there. Like, she did what I said to Remy. Like, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust anything someone tells you. You can decide for yourself what you want to do. If you want to believe in this religion, you can believe in it, but you also don't have to. Mm-hmm. It is not the only option.
You can choose. You're not stuck in that.
Right, exactly. The walls are torn down. You're not forced to be here. You can look out there, you can stay here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last page of her, or the second to last page of her leaving the city on all the chromodials, she says, now you can communicate. Now everything isn't supposed to be just black or white. Now you see the consequences of believing something just to feel safe. And now that you know all of this, you will realize the most terrifying thing from now on, it's all up to you. And we see June with the red on his forehead and then the blue and the green on his face as well.
Yeah. And that second to last page, she's looking at the bird from the first page of the issue 1, the bird that was attacked and fell into the city that kind of started this whole thing.
Do you think that, man, there's just so many. There's so many themes. There's so many themes.
I love that this whole thing and this whole conversation that we've been having about, like, you don't have to be stuck in this belief system or this ideology or anything like that. You can break free. You can think for yourself and everything. And I love how that's not the point. The point he ends it on is, but the most terrifying thing is now it's all up to you. Now you got to figure it out for yourself.
No one is telling you what to do.
Yeah.
No one is telling you what to believe.
Yes. Because it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier if somebody tells you what to do. But the scary shit is figuring out for yourself.
What to do when you wake up in the morning and be like, what should I do with myself?
What should I believe in?
Right, exactly. If you have somebody knowing that, like, this is your routine Monday through Sunday, that's a lot easier to get through the day because you know what you're going to do. But if you wake up one day and you don't know what the fuck to do with yourself, this right here is a very dangerous place to live in. And
I think that's the arc that we watched Kroma go on through this whole series, right? Like, she goes from just believing what she's told by the Maccabi to having Zet plant the seed, breaking out, but still having the two of them wrestling and telling her what she is or what she's going to do. And it's not really until this issue that when she attacks Demog and ends up killing him, kind of giving into the rage, but also seeing, like, okay, well, what am I going to choose to do? And she chooses to go back to try and tear some of this down to free some of these people. She has finally started to take ownership over her own actions of who she's going to be.
So I have some questions to pose to you guys. Do you think that Kroma did the right thing? Do you think that these people needed to be saved?
Can you give me an opinion in which someone might think that she did the wrong thing?
Yeah, she fucking tore down buildings and crushed people's homes and murdered people who
I guess the only
didn't deserve to be murdered.
I guess the only question is, should she have done it this way? Because there is no doubt that the Pale City is wrong. I mean, they're killing children. They're doing this because of this belief that, that, as we've witnessed and Kroma has witnessed, is not true. Like that.
But they don't know that. And this is going to sound
they're
terrible.
innocent.
And right, exactly. They don't know that killing these babies because they have color is wrong. They don't know that. They think that it's right.
Yeah.
So is killing them having them be like, casualties of war or whatever she's trying to do. Do you think that was the right thing to do? Personally, I think that Kroma discovered these feelings of freedom and she went a little buck wild. I don't know. I think
there's a point to that too, especially just because of the two panels when they're like, look, you actually killed people here. And she looks and is, crying and says, what did you expect? That she does recognize that part of this was her following the red roots of being angry at this system that she knows is wrong and she knows is abusing other people and abused her whole life, and is letting some of that rage out. And yeah, there are probably people who end up getting killed by some of the chromodials that, maybe shouldn't have, that were just kind of born into the system and that's all they've ever known. So I think there is some of that it's not like everything she's doing is this noble thing, but it is like it's a means to eventually tear down the system that she sees is wrong.
That she sees is wrong. So that's what the point I was trying to make, is that it's just another point of view.
It's
that
not.
She's trying
No,
to.
it's not.
That she's trying to.
No, it's not a point of view.
Force on people.
It's not a point of view. She already knew that it was what was true and what was not true, and that the stories that are being given to the town was not true, and that everything
there is no
outside
monster
the city,
in the egg.
So there was no opinion.
Done that without killing people, though.
That's a different question.
Could
What you're
she
asking
have?
now is a different question.
You have to cut off the head of the snake. She was taking down an entire city. You said it yourself, Bill. It's war. Like it is what it is. Like there are casualties of war. Was there a better way to do it? Like, hey, I have crocodiles. You better stop doing this. Like, no, the Makavi wasn't going to stop that, and she knew that. She grew up with him. That's all she knew was the Makavi.
That's one thing that I was going to say too, TJ, was that this was all she. I mean, she lived a life of abuse and being attacked constantly, and then the bird attacked her, and then like she's being attacked by the chromodiles. Like she only knows this really, and she wants to set them free, and she has this tool, and this tool that she grew up being exposed to, and she's going to use that tool.
Yeah. And to her credit, she gives the big speech. She gives the big speech, kind of like letting everyone know, like, hey, you're being lied to, you're being controlled. I'm breaking down the wall. They could have run to the other side of the city. And she, from everything we see, makes a beeline just straight for the Makavi. She gets through the walls and then is like, where's the Makavi? I need to handle him. And then after she knows that she's done that, leaves. So I don't think that she's storming the city to kill everyone in the city necessarily. Okay. I think she's trying to tear down the system of lies.
I think she is. But I also think that she is a very damaged person. And to Ryan, to your point, these townspeople beat her. They were part of they beat her senseless, right? And she throws the colors, right? And then the last panel is a poof of red.
Yeah.
So, which is attack, which is go, kill. Yeah. So she didn't have to do that. She could have used one. She could have had all the other ones stay back. She could have taken one to the Makavi and fucking eaten the Makavi. Or she could have used them to tear the walls down and told them to stop and been like, look at
she could have stood outside the wall and just talked for days on end. Like there had to have been like there
had to have been something. It was coming to war either way.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that she is not perfect. Nobody is in these scenarios.
Well, I mean, my rebuttal to it though is you're basically saying that death in any sense creates a villain and is wrong. But I don't agree with that. I think that there are cases like, do you think that we were wrong for killing Osama bin Laden, Hitler? Like, no. Eventually, it's going to come to that to a certain degree, and it doesn't make it wrong. And I think that that's what she did. It was war. It was war. They started the war just because she participated in the war and finished that shit and saved how many countless people. Other people may have died, but she saved countless people.
There could have been
spoils of war. It is what it is.
There could have been people on the Death Star that weren't bad dudes. Like that's that's what you're talking about. Like that is the thing where
But guys, imagine there's gonna be a group of people that watched her march away with these chromodiles. And they're going to create this legend of this villain.
You're just trying to write Kroma.
And you know what, Bill? That was their choice that she gave them.
Yeah, but it just stems another fucking. That's what it's sad. It's like I feel like this existential dread where there's never ever going to be good.
And then
there's always
ready to bring it back,
bad.
Bill. And ready to bring it back, Bill. That fear that you have, you're part of it. Like, what is your belief system? What is your thoughts? And are those right? And that's the terrifying part.
And
I think part of the reason why that works so well and why I'm okay with that as an ending of whether it is clear cut, whether it was the right thing.
I love
for her
the ending,
to do.
by the way. I love everything about it. I just have. I feel like we shouldn't think that she's a hero and what she did is like black and white.
And again, think about her journey through all of this, where she is being told by Zet, you don't hurt people. You're not going to hurt people. And then she kills the bird. And she's like, you lied to me. I do hurt people. And this is her realizing that, like, no, it's not going to be, I'm not just going to be a savior of people who helps people. And I'm not just a bad person that hurts people. I might hurt people, but I have to try and make the choices that I think are right.
That I want to make.
So with this newfound kind of like grasp on what the series could mean and like the different themes and full picture here, I don't think we have time now, but I would love to go back and reread everything with the bird and figure out where he fits in this ideology and like what he symbolizes as a person in that kind of, you know.
He is the guy in the Matrix who eats the steak and says ignorance is bliss. That is him. He's the person who he is the person who knows that this is all good and great, but he would much rather be in a safe, controlled environment where he has control and he has control over other people, even though it's not true. It's just this false reality that he's created. Ignorance is bliss.
Part of me wants, like, if Lorenzo were to ever listen to this episode or this podcast, I kind of want him to listen to this episode and then tweet afterwards and be like, guys, this was just a story and had nothing to do with society.
I just wanted crocodiles
or anything. That's all it was.
He's going to tweet at us with just a recommendation for a therapist. That's what he's going to do.
Who are you guys?
I just wanted to draw cool monsters and that's it.
And he did, man. He drew some cool monsters.
What a book, man. Oh my God.
Yeah. The thing that I take away from this book, and I kind of got away from it as I became more ingrained in the story, and after 4 issues and now having an ending, I always come back to the first time I read the first issue, and how unique of a story this is. Like to come up with the idea of the overall arcing story of color and contrast, and there being the Pale City, and just such a cool idea in general.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So unique.
Like the first
so
issue,
unique.
You know, we were enthralled with the world building and everything like that. But the thing that really stuck out to us was this character who, I mean, it was a story of abuse and how she just like believed that this was right and she believed that she deserved this. And like, we didn't talk about that at all in this issue. You know what I mean? Like, but it's still there. And that is what supported what came. Like every issue is so dense and has so much in it. Like this is one of those things I can't imagine writing it. And I mean, I know it's been in the making in his mind for years and years, but damn.
That's what's so great is that you can, that Lorenzo created a world that we were so infatuated with, that we would talk about Kroma and her abuse. And I remember I even was like, she's being abused and it's really disgusting and blah, blah, blah. But look at how cool. What do you think all these colors mean? And the King of Colors, like we were so like infatuated with the idea of this really cool fucking dense world that we lost track of like that theme that was going throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what a cool.
And I think that's one of the things, as sad as it is that it's only 4 issues, and that, you know, obviously when we first found out about that, it was a little bittersweet because we want more of it. Having an ending, I think, allows you to really let the themes of all of that sink in and get to see what Lorenzo is saying with all of it. And so I love that it is this complete story now that will hopefully come out in a very cool like hardcover that I can buy and put on my shelf and lend to anyone who will read it.
So that being said, and I'm left with a similar feeling like I was at the end of playing The Last of Us. Do you guys want more? Would you want more to this story?
I feel like so here's the reason why I would say yes. is because I read something somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, where someone asked Lorenzo De Felici about it, and he said that it was always meant to be a singular story, but he has ideas.
Yeah.
For like a Kroma 2
Well, yeah,
or
that's
a
like
continuing
saying,
story.
like,
So
if he has the perfect idea, then of course I want it. But in this moment, like where it ends, do you feel like you need more?
No, of course not. I mean, if I felt like I needed more, then that would basically say that I didn't get what I wanted from the ending, which I did. I definitely did.
Yeah, I feel the same way to your analogy with The Last of Us. I feel kind of the same way that I do about that series, where it gave me everything that I wanted, and I don't need any more of it. If Lorenzo were to say, I have an idea and I want to do more with this world, I would be, so excited to come back to it. But I love the story that it told, and having it as a complete story now where we can just kind of sink in with the themes.
So The Last of Us Part 1, I wanted more. I was like, I want her to find out about, spoiler alert, I want her to find out about the lie. I want to find out what happens when when they confront each other. But after The Last of Us Part 2, I don't want a Part 3, because I feel like, again, that we talked a lot about The Last of Us Part 2 and like how an eye for an eye makes a whole world blind, and like what does vengeance do? It doesn't make you feel any better. Like you just feel empty, and like you're just chasing your tail. And I feel like this is a perfect example of why I love doing podcasts about things like this, because Invincible, we could talk about how cool the art was and like how cool, like, who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. But like this story, I feel really exhausted after talking about it. Like I feel really emotionally exhausted. It's so fucking heavy, and I'm good. I don't need any more of this type of stuff, because and guys, like, I hope all the listeners, like, I hope you went into this thinking that it was just a cool story, and we've unlocked your ability to decide what all this shit means. We played the
through
point
Lorenzo.
Through Lorenzo, like we
did this.
I'm taking credit.
We're the real stars here. You're welcome, readers.
No, Lorenzo might be Kroma, but we're the fucking Chromodiles. We tore that wall down. Hate those people.
Ridiculous. All right. Wow. We have emails.
Oh, we
do have emails.
Oh, wait,
forgot about the
last
emails.
thing. Lorenzo's final page, he said, "To my father."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to skim over that, because he obviously dedicated an entire page. So. Oh man, great job, Lorenzo. So we're gonna go on to emails. What do we got? 2?
Mm-hmm. I'll grab the first one this is from Owen Saylor. Hello again, KromaCast. I first want to preface this by stating how much I loved reading Kroma. To me, this series is a prime example of what the medium of comics can be capable of when certain creators are able to unlock their true potential. I already loved Lorenzo De Felici's work on Oblivion Song, but Kroma has officially cemented him as one of my all-time favorites. And the way he was able to deliver on the finale was nothing short of masterful. Not only that, but listening to you guys discuss Kroma has been a great companion piece to the actual book itself. But this leads to my question. With the recent announcement of Void Rivals, which is a new ongoing series that will see Lorenzo reuniting with Robert Kirkman, is there a chance we might see a Void Rivals cast from you guys in the future? Much love, Owen Saylor.
I will say that we have discussed certain things. Nothing is finite yet. We don't know. Honestly, like, we're very much looking forward to Void Rivals, obviously with it being Lorenzo De Felici and Kirkman. But I will say definitively that there are some things coming from us in the future. So definitely follow us on Invincible at the Invincible Podcast, where we're going to be more active. But yeah, I mean, keep an eye out. If you don't already, follow us on KromaCast, follow us on Oblivion Song Podcast, and we'll be around.
We can also say definitively that we will absolutely be talking about Void Rivals,
even at the very least, it's on Invincible Podcast. Like, we will be talking about Void Rivals. It is, I mean, anything from Kirkman, obviously, but add Lorenzo on top of that. Like, this is a no-brainer for us. We can't wait. Yeah.
I will hack into your Skype call to talk about Void Rivals with you guys during the Invincible Podcast.
No, it'll happen. Owen, thank you for those kind words, though.
Yeah, nice.
Why you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so we have one from Chris Wise. He says, "Hey guys, just finished Chroma number 4, and just wow, there are so many things I loved about this issue. The time we waited for this issue definitely felt like a year, lol, but it made the time jump more organic since it feels like we've been away for so long." That's true. I didn't really think about that, but it does
was
sort of make sense that it's like a mid-season break. I lost my spot. Hang on. The art just left me breathless in more ways than one. I absolutely loved the root metaphor, and when Lorenzo incorporated it into the panels, it just added another layer of immersion. Her holding the head was so brutal, but so beautifully illustrated. The damage of what Kroma has gone through really shows in her actions. But despite the pain she's gone through, I think she's gained wisdom through her torment. I think we all expected her to raid the city, but her Veni Vidi Vici attitude, capped with mercy and understanding that she has and never will belong with the people, is such a great way to end her story and bring her peace. Very well said, Chris. Mm-hmm. He says, even though Kroma was only 4 issues, it was such a full story, and I can't wait to see where Lorenzo goes next with Void Rivals. # Void Rivals podcast ? Can't wait to hear what you guys think. Love, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. You know what I want to go back to, because he specified the head, her holding the head.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Morbid. Nobody in their right mind would be holding a decapitated head and having this like really heartfelt conversation with it in such a meaningful way, right?
Yeah.
I trust Kroma not to cut my head off while I'm sleeping. But she's also the type of person that would hold a head up to her own head and have that conversation. So, I mean, like, she doesn't feel like what she's doing is wrong. She's just expressing herself. You know what I mean? Yeah. While we know that holding a decapitated head is... Yeah. Don't forget, what I'm trying to say is don't forget that Kroma is fucked up. She's damaged.
Yeah.
And she's coping with all of her damages in whatever way that she can.
Yeah, so. I think if this story ended in a way where she didn't seem damaged, it would feel inauthentic. Like from where we saw her at the beginning of the story, she has to be carrying that with her through the choices that she's making now.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like I trust her. I know that she's inherently a good person.
Yeah.
But I know that what she's holding a decapitated head in a way that nobody else would. I certainly wouldn't do that, but I still trust her. I would let her watch my kids and babysit them and not fear that she would cut their heads off if they disagreed, you know?
All right.
And that's a dense character. That's a really thought out, well character, I think.
Wow. Like, thank you, Lorenzo. Like, holy shit. That was an amazing story. And obviously to anyone at Skybound, I'm so glad, you finally got to tell this story, like, yeah, like you said, Bill, it's exhausting being on the other side of it.
In a great way. Mm-hmm. In a great way. Yeah. I haven't felt this way about something in a long time, and I just feel emotionally like thank you. Like I'm good. Okay. And you've made me think about stuff, like even like the way that like we kind of talked through this. Like I've kind of thought about it a lot more, like the series as a whole. So I really appreciate doing this podcast with you guys, and
I'm very excited
to dig into it.
Very excited for a full read through, months from now when a collected edition comes out, knowing what we know now. And
that's fun. like when how I did my reread of the first 3 issues, like over the past couple months, is when I reread things, I'll have it on my phone always like in the background, and then just read it when I'm bored or when I'm sitting there, and I'll just read it, and then I'll like close it, and then a couple days later I'll open it back up, and I look forward to doing that again now with the 4th issue, like the final installment in there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, any other closing thoughts, you guys?
Another one in the bag.
Yeah.
Great series.
Yeah,
lots to say about mental health and this like communities and religion and politics and all that stuff. Just a lot. A lot in this stuff. Great fucking series. Thank you, Lorenzo. Good job.
Yep.
Very well.
All right. That does it. Again, be sure to follow us over on the Invincible podcast. We'll still be around on KromaCast on Twitter here and there with some news. And if you haven't checked out, like Ryan said earlier, if you haven't checked out Oblivion Song, go check out that series. It's 36 issues, great series, and we do a podcast on that too. You can listen along with us over there, the Oblivion Song Podcast. So again, we'll be doing some stuff in the future, and I hope to see you there.
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening.
All right,
thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Get my posture going. Ryan, you good?
Yeah, I'm sitting on my feet.
Koba!
I hate
Hello,
this.
and what?
No, Wyatt! That's a fucking blooper right
I need from when you yelled at Koba all the way up to that. That's the post credits.
Ryan, what do you hate? Oh, the ball spot right there?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, TJ. Wait.
Hello, and welcome to.
I said wait.
Now you're doing it on purpose. I'm gonna.
No.
You get it all out of your system.